Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our journey through the Bible. It's the story of how an exiled shepherd became the liberator of a nation. Our story begins not in a palace, but in the desolate wilderness of Midian. For 40 long years, Moses has been living a quiet, anonymous life. This is the same Moses who grew up as a prince of Egypt, but fled after killing an Egyptian who was brutalizing a Hebrew slave. He was a man on the run, a fugitive from the most powerful empire on earth, now tending his father-in-law Jethro's sheep, leading the flock, finding pasture, surviving in the harsh landscape. 40 years is a long time to reflect. Moses was no longer a prince. He was a simple shepherd, far from the centers of power and influence. His life was defined by the rhythm of the seasons and the needs of his flock. Then one day, Moses led his flock to the far side of the wilderness and came to Horeb, the mountain of God. And there, something impossible caught his eye. An ordinary day of shepherding turned into the most extraordinary day of his life. He saw a bush engulfed in flames, yet it wasn't burning up. The leaves weren't turning to ash. The branches weren't charring. It was a fire that gave light but did not consume. Curiosity got the better of him. He thought, I must go over and see this strange sight, why the bush does not burn up. This wasn't just idle curiosity. It was a pull, an inexplicable draw towards the miraculous. As Moses approached, a voice boomed from within the flames, a voice that would change the course of history. Moses, Moses! It called. Stunned, Moses replied, Here I am. The voice continued with a command that established the sanctity of this moment. Do not come any closer. Take off your sandals, for the place where you are standing is holy ground. This wasn't just any patch of desert anymore. The presence of God had transformed it. Then came the revelation. I am the God of your father, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. This was the God of his ancestors, the God of the covenant, the God he had heard stories about, but had never known personally. The reality of the moment was overwhelming. Moses hid his face because he was afraid to look at God. In that instant, the shepherd was face to face with the creator of the universe. God's next words revealed the entire purpose of this divine encounter. He had a mission. The voice from the fire said, I have indeed seen the misery of my people in Egypt. I have heard them crying out because of their slave drivers, and I am concerned about their suffering. So I have come down to rescue them from the hand of the Egyptians, and to bring them up out of that land into a good and spacious land, a land flowing with milk and honey. For 400 years, the Israelites had been enslaved, their cries seemingly lost in the desert wind. But God had heard. Every tear, every prayer, every groan had reached the heavens. And now, the time for deliverance had come. Then came the assignment, the part that turned Moses' world upside down. God said, So now, go. I am sending you to Pharaoh to bring my people, the Israelites, out of Egypt. Imagine Moses' shock. To Egypt, the place he fled as a murderer? Confront who? Pharaoh, the most powerful man on earth. Do what? Lead millions of people out of bondage? It seemed impossible, ludicrous. And Moses' reaction was perfectly, understandably human. His first protest was one of inadequacy. Who am I that I should go to Pharaoh and bring the Israelites out of Egypt? He immediately started making excuses. It's a question many of us ask when faced with a daunting task. Who am I? I'm just a shepherd. I'm a fugitive. I'm nobody special. But God's answer wasn't about Moses. It was about himself. He simply said, "I will be with you." That was the only qualification Moses needed. Not his own strength, or eloquence, or status, but God's presence. God then gave him a sign. "And this will be the sign to you, that it is I who have sent you. When you have brought the people out of Egypt, you will worship God on this very mountain." Moses wasn't convinced. Suppose I go to the Israelites and say to them, "The God of your fathers has sent me to you," and they ask me, "What is his name?" Then what shall I tell them? The Egyptians had a whole pantheon of gods with different names and functions. Who was this God? God's reply is one of the most profound statements in the entire Bible. He said to Moses, "I am who I am." This is what you are to say to the Israelites. "I am has sent me to you." This name, I am, speaks of God's eternal, self-existent, and unchanging nature. He is the one who was, and is to come. He is the ultimate reality. He is not defined by anything or anyone. He simply is. But Moses still had more excuses. What if they do not believe me, or listen to me and say, "The Lord did not appear to you"? He was worried about his credibility, so God gave him tangible signs to perform. He told Moses to throw his staff on the ground. When he did, it became a snake, and Moses ran from it. God told him to pick it up by the tail, and it turned back into a staff. Then God told him to put his hand inside his cloak. When he took it out, it was leprous, white as snow. He put it back in, and when he took it out again, it was restored, completely healed. God was demonstrating that the power of life, death, and nature was in his hands, and he was entrusting a portion of that power to Moses. Even after all this, Moses had one final protest, perhaps his most heartfelt one. "Pardon your servant, Lord. I have never been eloquent, neither in the past tapering off to the end, nor since you have spoken to your servant. I am slow of speech and tongue." But God's response was a powerful reminder of his sovereignty. Who gave human beings their mouths? Who makes them deaf or mute? Who gives them sight or makes them blind? Is it not I, the Lord? I will help you speak and will teach you what to say. Yet still, Moses pleaded, "Pardon your servant, Lord. Please send someone else." At this point, the Lord's anger burned against Moses. But even in his anger, God was gracious. He didn't give up on Moses. He said, "What about your brother, Aaron the Levite? I know he can speak well. He is already on his way to meet you, and he will be glad to see you. You shall speak to him and put words in his mouth. I will help both of you speak and will teach you what to do. He will be your spokesman to the people." God met Moses in his weakness and provided him with a partner. Every objection had been answered. The fugitive shepherd who had spent 40 years in hiding was now commissioned as God's ambassador. The encounter at the burning bush had transformed him. The fire that burned but did not consume was a picture of God's own nature, a power that purifies and empowers, but does not destroy. Moses could finally go, not because he was ready, but because God was with him. The reluctant shepherd would now begin the journey to become one of history's greatest leaders. An incredible story of how God can take an ordinary person, meet them in an ordinary place, and give them an extraordinary purpose. It reminds us that our weaknesses don't disqualify us from God's plan. They often become the very stage on which his power is most clearly displayed. Thank you for joining me for this story today. I hope it encouraged you. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, and don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you won't miss our next one. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Until next time, take care.